everyone, welcome back to another scrapbook layout video, and thank you for joining me again today. Today I am following a sketch, and this is another challenge from the most recent My Little Scrapbook Store crop challenges. It was this sketch that I showed at the beginning, and I was really excited to use this sketch. It took me a little bit of time to find the photos that I wanted to use. But I eventually, again, I still had this collection out and I'm still not wanting, I mean, you could see these are just some of the like border scraps that I've kept. I do still have, I wonder if I have any full sheets. I think I have maybe like 2 full sheets of paper, and I might just have to grab something else to go with them. Sorry, that's my phone. Don't know how to keep it quiet. Um, I, um, so I'm playing around with this sketch, and the sketch does call for 3x3 photos, but I did not want to cut, and squares as well, but I did not want to cut mine down that small because I just, the whole point of the photos, if I cut them down any smaller than what I did, you wouldn't really be able to see. Basically, when we went to the mountain to play in the snow, since there wasn't much snow, my boys kind of played around and would toss snow on top of each other to make it look like it was snowing. And the pictures turned out pretty cool. So what I did was I just took them to the size of 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. And I did that because I didn't want them to fill, if I did 4x4, they would fill up the entire right-hand side of the page, which actually would have probably been okay, but I wanted that little bit of separation like the sketch had. And you can see here, I'm even actually trying to use one of the solid papers for the background, but it's throwing me off from all these other ones. I wasn't sure which patterns I wanted to use as these squares. And one thing I found was I would have kind of a more all bluish one, and the other 2 would be all different colors. So now I have all 3 different colors. I was actually looking at the 4x4 cards. I kind of liked the one with the snow globe on it, but it just, again, it was kind of more of a solid color, and where it went there actually on the sketch is kind of a cluster area where I don't think I end up adding actually a cluster area in that area, but at the time I didn't know that's what was going to happen. So what I decided was to get rid of the light blue background, and that helped quite a bit. So I do think I paused the video here in just a moment, and I ink the edges, and I go ahead and finally figure out which papers I want to put down. While I'm doing that, I also wanted to use that border strip, but I didn't want to cut into one of the full, and which I shouldn't have saved it, right? We shouldn't save the paper. But I didn't really want to cut just like a small 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch piece of paper from one of the full sheets, yet what I had left over was really dark. And that dark one, but when I had it all down there and with the darkness in the photos, it actually worked out pretty okay. So I'm just playing around here. Also trying to figure out, with what I have left as far as ephemera and stickers, what I'm going to put where. I really wanted to add a cluster in the area that they showed a cluster, but I don't think that happened. So if you guys will remember a few videos back, I tried using this punch and I didn't know how to line it up. Well, my son, I was like, look at this. And he realized that there's these little ledges you can see I'm lining up the punch with each time. And then when you get to the end, you can line them up with the little circles like normal border punches, which is good because I actually enjoyed using this punch. It's not my favorite, and you can see I'm kind of missing pieces and missing spots. It is what it is, and I'm still going to hang on to it for a little while because I do kind of like the border, but again, it's not really a favorite, and looks like I actually left like a big space there, and I didn't even notice that until just now. But it just kind of adds a little bit of snowy. Yeah, I'm not sure how crazy I am about that punch, but if you have one and you haven't been able to figure it out either, there's little like ledges that you line the paper up on, which is actually almost easier than the way that EK makes them now. While this is a bigger size and more annoying to store, the way that that punch punches with the ledges is actually rather easy if you do it right, unlike me. Yeah, I got a couple pretty big gaps there, but to be honest, I completely forgot about it once I started gluing everything down, so it turned out just fine. Now I chose some papers here. Again, I thought I stopped to glue them down, but I might have just stopped to figure out what I wanted to use. But the reason I chose these 3 is because, like I said, they're all multicolored pattern papers, whereas some of the other ones I tried, as much as I liked the color, it was weird having one solid and 2 multicolored, and it just was throwing me off quite a bit. So I would have really liked to use that plaid paper too. I really like the way that paper looks in this collection, but because I have it in the stripe, I thought that would have been too much of that one pattern to have it also in one of the squares. So I started out by using my T-square ruler to kind of line these up to get them straight, but if you're like me, it doesn't matter, and they're never going to be straight, and the more you try to get them straight, the less straight they are. So I gave up on that and just decided to kind of line them up by eyeballing it, and they look pretty good to me. I know they're off a little bit, but I'm not worried about it. And then I wanted to use this sticker, this border sticker. I have 2 more border stickers left, but they're not full 12 by 12 because I used them on something else. Otherwise, I would have used them on this layout. But here I am thinking peel-offs again, and I was going to see if I had a blue. I was looking for kind of like a, not the navy blue, but kind of the deeper blue that they have. More of, I don't know the word you would call it, but I couldn't find it, so I decided to just go with a small, thin, silvery strip like I used, and I'm doing it because I used it on the other layouts and I really liked how it turned out. And it's actually, this one's more glittery than the ones I used on the other layouts, and it's going to fit in with my title. It kind of takes my title in the direction that it goes. So I just put that down, and then I decided, since I had it over there, I was going to add just 2 little strips to the bottom of this square, just to kind of give like a little shelf or a landing place there. So I used one size, I think maybe the largest size, and then I'm taking the smallest size and just adding a little strip below it. And they're not next to each other. There is a little space in between. And they are a tiny bit crooked, but again, I'm not going to let that bother me at all. And I keep the extra little pieces because those are great for just different sizes. I contemplated adding some up to the right-hand square to kind of make a triangle of it, but I just decided that wasn't going to work, so I didn't do it. I just couldn't figure out how I was going to do it. I figured in the end of the layout, if I needed it, felt like it needed something up there, then I could go back and add one later, but I don't end up adding anymore. So because I've mentioned I'm low on pretty much regular shapes, I have a lot of frames and tags and a lot of word sayings, but I don't have a lot of like shapes. I decided to take some of these ephemera pieces and frames and tags and cut the shapes out of those. And I'm using the circle punch. The first one was already in a circle. I just basically punched it out, the trees, and kind of the same thing with this snowflake here as well. And this is kind of where, again, if you look back at the sketch, and I do show the sketch again next to the layout here in a little while. If you look back at the sketch, there's a big cluster in this area and the title, and I really liked it, and I probably should have went with that, but I just couldn't get it to really work with what I wanted to do on this layout. So I'm thinking of my title here, and oh, let me show you this here. And I want to say that this is from Stampin' Up. I found this die because I was looking for snowflake dies, and I saw this border one, and I was super happy to find that it doesn't cut the edges, so I could make a full 12-inch border. And I played around with where I wanted to put this thing a lot, but I even thought maybe I wouldn't put it on there, but I really like the way it looks. So I'm kind of setting the white part in the white space between the photos and the borders, and look at how neat that is. So again, I'm using my dies, which I made a promise to myself this year that I'm going to use my dies and start using some of the supplies that I buy, right? So yeah, I just added a little dots of glue around most along the white part that holds the whole border down, and now I'm adding just a little bit of glue under the parts of the snowflakes that I don't want to get caught on other papers, or once it's in the page protector, they'll be fine. It's just on its journey to the page protector. And the other thing I did off camera was my title, and it says "Make Your Own Snow," which I thought was pretty cute since, again, my other son is just throwing the snow onto my son. And they did that quite a few times. They had a fun with that. And again, more alphabet stickers used up. I was super happy about that. And the silver really picks up on the silver from the peel-offs. So it worked out both ways. It worked out really well. I have printed my journaling in strips, but I didn't pre-measure them or anything, so you're going to see me kind of cut down the strips a little bit to fit in that area. I haven't glued down those circles yet. They're just there sitting there, so I know where I'm going to want to put the journaling strips. One thing I've been doing a little bit more of lately is with my journaling strips. When I cut them, you can see on the right-hand side of the screen right now, the extra white strips that are left over from trimming these down. I've been taking those and gluing them to the backs of the journaling strips. So it kind of gives them a little bit like thicker, more stable. It just, I don't know, I just like the way it looks. It doesn't really, it pops them up just a tiny hair, but not a whole lot. But I figured why not? And it saves scraps anyway. So it's like adding a really extremely thin foam adhesive to them. So yeah, that's just a little tip, and that's why those are there all kind of cut up. So now here I'm going to glue down these little circles that I made, and I am super happy with how this layout turned out. It was a little bit of a struggle with the whole place where the cluster is on the sketch, but it's just a good way to look at it, knowing that you don't have to have your layout look exactly the way the sketch looks. So that, just keep that in mind. Just take the sketch as inspiration. Now, I also was thinking about using the dies to cut out some more snowflakes. I've been collecting snowflake dies and all kinds of things. But then I remembered I have this little bucket of vellum shapes that I cut out of some scrap vellum like a year ago, and some of them were snowflakes. So I decided to pull some of those out. And what I like about those is that they're, it's vellum, so it's there, but it's very subtle. And I felt like that way a white snowflake wouldn't really compete with the white snowflake border. So I'm going to add one of those into each cluster area. I think I added to the left cluster. But what I end up doing is kind of making the triangle of clusters like usual. So there's the one down on the right by the journaling. There's one here that I'm working on by the title. And then there's one up in the top right. And the reason I added that there was because of those ice skates. Now, I didn't think I would get to use those ice skates on any layout, but they look so good hanging there. And we're not ice skating. I don't care. It's cold, and that's the whole point. What I'm trying to do here, however, is add a little bit more color around. So I have that dark border, and I have that dark hat down in the cluster on the bottom right. So I'm trying to find something with a little bit more dark, something dark to it, and just something interesting to add next to the skates. It's kind of hard, again, finding anything with what's left of this collection. I thought maybe I'd be able to use more of like the clothes. You can see what I've done with the sticker sheet at this point is I took all the stickers off and just added them to a wax piece of paper, and thought that might make it easier than holding up that big sheet and getting a little overwhelmed, trying to see them all there. But so I just took them, and so those are all the stickers I have left. And I did try to use up like the gloves. You saw me playing around with those. So now what I'm doing is taking a couple more of these tag pieces and trying to get these snow globes used up. Again, I really thought, when you shake a snow globe, the snow goes everywhere in the snow globe, and that really reminded me of the pictures because they're kind of doing the same thing, only in real life, right? But I just couldn't I had trouble getting them to work. I like the one that's up there. Again, I'm just trying to find a dark color to spread around. So then I had this, what do you call this, a banner. And instead of trying to figure out how to use it as a banner, I decided to cut or punch a couple hearts. I recently got this punch at Tuesday morning, and I really like the heart shapes. I have enough heart punches to last me forever, but I'm going to try to use up these ephemera pieces in a way that will work for me. And that brings not only kind of another element into the page, but also it brings out that darker blue that I'm trying to add around the page because it's in the hat. I really want to add it to the other two clusters. And then, so yeah, I do add another one of those vellum snowflakes into each area, and I kind of tuck the hearts underneath. One thing I'm doing here is I'm using a glue dot to kind of put the heart down. Glue dots don't add a lot of dimension, but they do add just a tiny bit. And so since that tag is popped up on some foam tape, I thought maybe it would help kind of make the heart stand out just a little bit more. But like I said, there's not a ton of dimension, just a little tiny bit. And again, with that tag, after it's off screen, I did go through my enamel dots and I added I just found one that was similar color. So instead of adding any thread, although thread would have looked okay since it has the kind of faux string hanging from above the ice skates, thread probably would have looked okay, but I just didn't want to deal with the thread, and I thought an enamel dot would work just as well. So in that little part where the hole is on the tag, you will see an enamel dot. So there's my layout next to the sketch, and the last thing I did was add 3 of my little confetti snowflakes around in each cluster, just 3 this time, and I hope you guys like the layout. I really had fun with this sketch, and I will see you guys next time, and have a great day. All right, everyone, goodbye.